5:30, we'll call Mayfield Township Board meeting to order.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're making a motion?
Yes,
You making a motion?
Yeah, I thought you did. Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I'll support
Got
that.
it. Okay.
Okay. Beth, you made a motion?
No, Dan did.
Okay. Yeah, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion's passed. Okay, next treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve the May 2024 treasurer's report as presented.
A second.
Favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's passed. Next, public time. Ready for public time? Beth, do you have any?
I'll make a comment. Mr. Engelman, I noticed at the last meeting, you brought up the fact that a constituent had asked about getting blinking signs at an intersection because he's worried about people dying. People have died there. And you said you talked to the road commission and they said no, and that's it. I thought that was a really odd way to deal with it, because in other public meetings they would have said, well, they gave this criteria, it doesn't meet this, or if you disagree with them, you can go talk to them about it, or you could go to road commission meetings and plead your case there. I'm just saying, nope, that's it. It just seems rather childish to me. These are complex issues. We are adults, we are not children. You know, I'm a visitor to this township, but my parents live here. These people live here, most of them. Let's treat people with respect and maybe a little bit more complex thinking. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Beth.
Yeah, actually, I was the one that raised that issue, and I was satisfied with, I'm not happy with it, but I was satisfied with it, and I thought you handled it okay. I have nothing else to say about it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, if we have nobody else for public time, we will be close the regular meeting at 5:32. Open the public hearing for Mayfield Township 2024 budget general appropriations.
No, please, bring it.
Any discussion?
No.
Okay, no discussion. We will close the public hearing at,
Isn't this a time when the public can ask questions about the budget?
yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, I was waiting to be called on. I can't see in front of the gentleman in front of me. I have just a few questions in helping me understand the budget and the way things are laid out here. I noticed that on several of the board members, the W-2 forms differ significantly from the budget. So I'm thinking that the W-2 includes the amount of benefits. Is that correct?
Anything that gets paid through payroll.
Okay, is that paid through, the benefits are paid through payroll?
Somewhere.
So, if I wanna understand the salaries of the different board members and employees, I'm thinking I add up the per diem if it exists and the salary wages figure. Is that correct? Is that the way you notate the wages, the salaries in the budget?
Well, not everybody takes.
Right, there's not always a per diem, but that would match the
If they took the per
salary
diem.
figure. Okay, and does the, the per diem is paid for board meetings, but that but that doesn't include attending these meetings. It's just like the road commission and like that. Okay, that's what I thought. Is the new website included in here, or was that covered in the last year's budget?
No, it was not. Not moving.
It's not in here,
No.
I don't think it's
No.
in here.
No,
I seem to recall a figure of $10,000
That's
maybe in
correct.
last year's budget, and that would kinda cover that?
Yep.
Okay. I'm gonna ask a follow-up question to something that I asked before, cause I noticed there's a line item for lawsuit judgment. And I attended a court hearing, and you know, I haven't followed all of this, and I don't pretend to understand all of the legal issues. But it was my understanding that the judge at that time had already issued an order that Mayfield Township paid for attorney's fees. And I thought the hearing I attended was just to establish what that amount was going to be. So we had a high estimate that was submitted by the other party, and then there was a lower estimate that Attorney Gildner explained was more appropriate for this area. So we have kind of a range of what that judgment's going to be. So I'm interested in why we're not at least giving an estimate in the budget under lawsuit judgment, since there is a line item for that.
well, first of all, that line item has been there since I've worked here,
Right,
so
it's
not something that
obviously
we added.
there.
And I have no numbers, nobody's given me any numbers, so.
Okay, you didn't include it because you don't have any, and I know I'm assuming the judgment hasn't been issued yet. I mean, I don't know that. All right, on page 3, under the assessor, wages and salaries, is this the assessor that works in the office 1 day a week?
Nope.
So I'm assuming that we have some kind of contract where he actually works for us more than 1 day a week in doing his work for us?
First of all, he's not contractual, because by the IRS standards, he cannot be. He has to be an employee.
Okay,
So he is an employee, and he works here 1 day a week, he works wherever else he works there 1 day a week. Some places he doesn't work in the office a day a week, he's just available.
okay,
So
yeah.
for us, we have him on Wednesdays. Deerfield, I think he's there Mondays. City of Lapeer has him, I don't know what
Yeah.
day.
I guess what
So-
struck me was the amount of money for 1 day a week. I'm assuming he does work for us
Because.
other days, and it's not just the days in the office.
Well, I mean, if we call him, he
Okay.
will answer a question, but no, his, what is he, a level 4?
I think it's higher than that now.
Yes,
So this is a pretty
So-
standard rate for an
yes.
assessor? I don't know. I just, it struck me as, well, that's a lot of money for 1 day a week. But
He does field work for us.
But
that's what I'm thinking, that he
it's
works
the-
on
it's-
other
it's-
days.
It's on his qualifications, not on his day a week.
Okay. That's kind of a standard
Correct.
fee for assessors. Okay, on page 4, the general office and clerical, who does that include? Because I noticed there was a significant increase a while back.
That's for Peggy and John.
Okay, it's including John too. Okay, that makes more sense, okay. And, is there a breakdown as to how much for who? And a related question is, I've kind of lost track. I know one time John Lewis was hired, for just a few months, but he's been hired,
It was extended.
extended, and was it extended permanently, or was it just extended for, so that would have to be extended again? So how much of that 33,000 would be for,
He gets paid $1,200.
It's Nathan that just gave it.
Oh, okay.
oh,
$1,200 a month.
okay. And right now, he was hired for like a year, so I don't know what the timeline was, but at whatever point you'll either extend his contract or not. If you do, you answered my questions about page 5. I think I'm almost done. Let me just check my notes. Page 8. Comprehensive planning, the salaries and wages, is that the planning commission?
Yep.
Okay, I'm looking at what's actual through this point and then what's budgeted, and I'm wondering why we think that it's going to be that much more.
It's just the same as what it was before. I just did the same.
Right, and that was increased from the 2000, I'm looking way back to like, all of a sudden it increased by more than twice as much, but then we clearly haven't spent that.
Yep.
So why are we thinking to keep the 5,000?
Because you don't know what's going to happen in the future, and it's easier to put it in there and not do a budget amendment.
Okay, because you might not spend it all.
That's correct. If it doesn't get spent, it goes back into the fund balance.
Okay, let me just check my notes here, I think you've answered everything. Oh, I know the ARPA funds aren't in the budget, so where do we keep track of those, those monies? At least I don't think they're in the budget.
Nope,
Okay,
nope, not until you said that.
they're totally separate and apart, is there some kind of like budgetary document or something that,
Yep, it has its own line item.
okay, but that's not included in
Just like
this.
we spent money on the road October, whatever it was, and we did budget amendment for that at that time, because we knew what the number was.
Oh, I see, that money is included in this budget, as you spend it.
As you spend it.
As you
It's
spend
not,
it.
it doesn't show in this budget,
Okay, did
just like
they,
our fund balance.
did they give us all that money, or do
Yep.
they give us the amount and then we submit for
We
it?
have it.
We have it, okay, and the expenditures are accounted for here, but we don't account for what the
Only the
total
one
of
that
the
we
money
paid
is.
for, not the other ones that are in the works,
Okay,
because we don't have a number yet.
can you tell me what the total ARPA funds were? I don't remember, was it like 500,000 something?
827, 783, 84.
827, 783,
84.
84. Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, I was
even
thinking
two
it was
installments.
500,000.
Even two installments,
Okay.
$400.
Great, all right, thank you so much for answering my questions. I think I have a better understanding of how things are laid out in here. And it makes a lot more sense than just looking at it and saying, well, what did they do this for?
Any further?
I just have one question related to the pension expense, and Julie said last year, I questioned why it isn't in each person's category, but this is the way this particular document is set up. And so then how does somebody find out of that almost $70,000, who gets what? Because that's technically, as far as I'm a taxpayer, that's a fringe benefit, but it isn't considered a fringe benefit under each of the categories of the people. Do I have to just FOIA and say, I'd like to know how much money for each person is being put into that pension fund? Is that what I do?
You know, if you wanna come in, you can get that at the office.
Okay.
Anything further? Okay. With that, we will close the hearing at 5:44 and reopen the regular hearing. Meeting. All set?
Yep.
Okay, other business, new business, board appointments. We have two board appointments to make. One one is Alan Hoppy for the zoning board of appeals.
I'll make a motion to accept the reappointment. Of Alan Hoppy
Dan second.
to the ZBA.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That was passed. There's, we appoint Gwen Stoneberg to the tax review board.
No, she's on the ZBA.
Oh, she's on ZBA, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, for ZBA also.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Gwen Stoneberg to the zoning board of
Appeals.
appeals. I'll say that.
A second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion passed. Okay. Next, we have some road projects. Let's see, which is the first one? Go with, first one is the, Callis Road between Davis Lake and Angle Road to, remove and replace 18x40 culvert. Install new gravel over the top, new tube and restoration. At a cost of $6,900.
I'll make a motion to approve road project agreement with Lapeer County Road Commission. Do you want the project number?
Yep.
Project number 504-014-244306. Total cost of $6,900 as presented.
Oh, second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion's passed. We get those to them. Next one's kind of a twofold project. I working with the road commission and explained to them that there's a drain that goes from the pond on Coulter Road across the road. Years ago, somehow it's been plugged up. The water got so high that it was into the, it was actually out to the center line. It's super dangerous. Road commission got it pumped down with, they now realize, I told them that, you know, lived there my whole life, there was a drain that's plugged, and now they realize that. So they sent us quotes to redo that properly and get it raised up so that somebody doesn't hit the water and hydroplane or whatever, and it's at the base of two hills, so,
Are they gonna raise the road up?
yeah, they're gonna raise it up.
Okay.
Well, they're gonna,
Put a new
I
culvert.
shouldn't say they're gonna raise it, they're gonna raise it a little bit, they're gonna pump the lake, the pond down,
Right.
and then get the drain in so that the water stays down where it's supposed to be, which is like 3 feet
Okay.
lower than it is.
Does a homeowner have to give permission to have their pond pumped down, or how does that?
If it touches the road, they don't.
Well, they did get permission.
They did, but the
Okay,
thing is,
Yeah.
if they,
Well,
they asked, when they pumped it down for safety reasons, they already pumped it down once, it's back to the road again. They went to, Mr. Woodrow, who owns it across the road, they're all relatives, right, that own those properties. And she has a pond on the other side, so if they were just to dump that water, it would just overflow her pond and take the berm on the other side. So they put a pump in the one on Cold Road, and they pumped the other one at the same time into the swamp. Well, they need to get it pumped down, dig it out of there, get the culvert in, and they've already worked it out, they've been talking with them, they've got it, how they're gonna do it.
Any timeline, how long that road will be closed while they're doing it?
I think they're probably gonna pump it down first and then start, so it shouldn't be a day or two, I wouldn't think, once they get it pumped down. And they talked about pumping it back up to the other one instead of going across the road.
Okay.
They're gonna have, and they're not doing it, Racine OD Water is gonna do it, they can they can pump one of the things down in minutes almost, so.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
it's,
We
this
had-
is the cheaper way to do it because they do have the approval from both of the, like you said, they're siblings, but they both approved it. So this is the cheaper way to do it.
so,
Are there other situations in the township that we should be looking at similarly to that, where there's culverts that are needed over or under a road or in low
That's
spots?
the only one that I know that they have brought to our attention.
And it's because the water went over the road, and that's why it became a problem now.
When they called, when, our foreman Gabe, when he called me, he said, kind of funny thing, is goldfish swimming in the middle of the road.
Yeah.
Goes out to the center of the road, so you can't have that, so, you know, so. And this is, well, the last few years, it's been right at the edge, and this year, it went right up over the top, you know, so. One is,
I think we should do them separately because they're done two separate.
Right. The first project would be, between M24 and Valentine, it's really just north of, M24. Pump down the pond 4 to 5 feet to the south with a 6-inch pump, install new 15-inch by 20-inch by 60-foot poly-coated pipe, MDOP, riprap, restoration, paved crossing. This includes 10,000 contingency for any unforeseen issues.
So the 33 includes the 10,000,
Yes. Yes, okay,
so it could come in at 23.
that's that one.
I'll make a motion to approve the project 504-014-244-307 at a approximate cost of $33,000 as presented.
Support.
Kyle,
Yes.
Knowlton,
Yes.
and, Frisch,
Yes.
Engelman,
Yes.
yes.
The next one is in the same project, but what they're saying, instead of going in there and just patching a little piece in it for the next one, they want to take and pave it, repave this, just a section between the culvert, basically in the dip. Instead of just, you know, leaving this piece that's gonna come out of there. So the best way is to just take right there and from end of culvert to end of culvert, since they're gonna be there, and just pave that little section, which is, I forget how many feet they said, but 265 feet. At that time, at a cost of $11,500.
I'll make a motion to approve the road project agreement with Lapeer County Road Commission, project number 504-114-244308 at a cost of $11,500.
The caveat I forgot is this is for next fiscal year.
Oh, next fiscal.
Yes. So I can add that into
To
your.
include next fiscal year.
Yes, on both of the parts of it, right?
All three of these will be
Okay.
next year. I mean, we're already in, partway through June, it's not gonna happen before the end of next. I'll second. Knowlton,
Yes.
Frisch,
Yes.
Engelman,
Yes.
Schlaud, yes, and Kyle.
Yes. So, on this vein of road commission projects and culverts and, so on a secondary road, roads that the township is responsible for, if somebody's driveway culvert is crushed, water's not draining down the ditches, homeowner's responsibility for that culvert, our responsibility, homeowners? A ditching ditching to eliminate water backup in somebody's yard or to the edge of the road. Our issue with the road commission to resolve that issue for like maintenance of a ditch for proper flowing of water.
Well, for instance, there was a problem on the one they did Farmers Road last year, whatever it was, and they ditched that down through there, and they had culverts that were, you know, going over and stuff like that. And if I remember correctly, they bear the expense of replacing some of those that were crushed beyond use in that project. We didn't pay for it, but they accepted that as generosity to the homeowner, I guess. But typically, they gave call and said, hey, you know, we got these, we can probably cover it, and so, okay, do what you gotta do, so. I guess it depends on the situation. Next on the agenda would be a contract, LAI, renewal of the agreement.
I will make a motion to, not to renew the restated operating and management agreement with Lapeer Aviation Incorporated to become effective 9/11/24, and to direct the Mayfield Township Attorney to commence eviction proceedings against Lapeer Aviation Incorporated if Lapeer Aviation does not vacate all spaces at the airport property known as 1232 Ridge Lake Road, Lapeer, Michigan, as of 9/12/24.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Frisch,
Yes.
Engelman,
Yes.
Schlaud, yes, Kile,
Yes.
Engelman.
Yes.
Motion's passed. Okay, we have budget amendments.
I'll make a motion to approve, budget amendments as presented.
Support.
Everybody get a chance to look at them.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion's passed.
Can I, just since Mike's here, for the annual meeting, how do we need to set that up so it's not total chaos like it was last year? I mean, does there somebody need to be at the door or two people to make sure somebody's a resident, have residents?
I'm gonna do that.
I don't know, that's
You
what,
know when.
I guess I'm looking for direction. It was, how do we manage that situation?
So, what we've tried to do in the past is have Jamie, I think, has been at the door, taking a role, for lack of a better term. That works really only as well as people show up on time. People who filter in later, I don't know frankly how that was handled. In terms of the setup of the room, yeah, last year was a mess, and I don't remember how it was set up. I think it was just chairs. And then people kind of rearranged the chairs, which made it difficult for me to count heads. The year before that, if I recall correctly,
I think it was in the parks.
I think the year before, there were tables and people tended to gather around tables, and then I could at least count by table, which made it easier for me. So that would be my
I
recommendation.
mean, should everybody be given 3 pieces of paper, or how many to put yes or no, or, I mean, so it's a physical count, or would that be more manageable?
It's up to you. You know, there's no, the statute doesn't speak to this at all. It simply talks about the topics that are handled there. If any of you have ideas on how to make that more efficient, I'm all for it. There's really only, two topics that require a vote. And so the hardest part is just keeping track of hands, that's it. And so in that sense, I would rather there not be chairs where there's people just, all over the place. It just makes it easier for me.
There's absolutely no way to know if they're a resident or not, because all they have to be, they don't have to be a voter. They just have to be a potential voter.
So, well, they have to be an elector. So they have the ability to vote here in Mayfield Township. I don't imagine that Jamie or whoever is at the front desk is checking that as people come in. And so, to the extent there is a question about a particular person, that should be raised at the meeting and that we can address it. Fortunately, hasn't been a vote or an issue that's really come down to is it one or two people eligible to vote.
I just didn't know if there was any parameters, if, people could be given a piece of paper, yes or no, or that type of thing, or it has to be a handwritten or handwritten vote.
Table seems the best way though. You can-
I thought, for me, I thought that was better than last year. Last year I thought was actually worse than COVID, when we tried doing it by Zoom.
But I don't think there was enough tables, there wasn't enough space for the tables last year.
I don't know, I don't know how all that came to pass. I just thought that having chairs where people could move them around, and it was very difficult.
So, if Dan and I want to set up the room, ultimately, it's a supervisor's decision on how the count is taken, or it's not a board decision, right?
There is no vote.
Right, yeah.
So, he is the moderator of it. What's helpful is at the very beginning, explaining exactly how this is going to be handled. Again, last year, there were a lot of opinions coming from the audience about exactly how this should be counted. I think that should be determined beforehand and announced to everybody, and then we follow. But the short answer, as I said, there's nothing by statute which says it has to be done this way versus that way.
Okay. Committee reports?
Oh, we didn't, I'll make a motion to, where's my little cheat sheet?
Accept
Motion two.
I'll make a motion to approve the Mayfield Township 2024, 2025 general appropriations as presented, approving the budget.
Support.
Engelman,
Yes.
Schlaud, yes. Kile,
Yes.
Knowlton,
Yes.
and Frisch.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, with the GLTA, I don't have anything with those significances. Going along, real good.
Just need some reminder postcards.
Budget's in good shape.
At EMS, we again discussed the, millage, and that's been the highlight of the the meeting, to be honest with you, so that will happen in August, I'm afraid.
I did call the road commission today to ask about roadside mowing. I know it came up last year at the June meeting. They said, Mayfield is scheduled, for June 17th, next Monday, to start mowing.
Are you getting emails from them?
Pardon?
Are you getting emails from
No.
them? Cause they,
Well, I complained to Terry, he was here for something else, and, he said, why are we, and he agreed, you know, a lot of the townships only do one, we do two, so we do one at the end of June, and then we're doing another one the beginning of September. It's kinda crazy, but for whatever reason, they keep putting us at the bottom of the list.
Well, thanks for checking on that, Beth, because I was starting to wonder if they're.
I mean, I guess I thought they were gonna do a rotation, because they started at the east end. Like, they started on Emily City last year.
He couldn't give me an answer, and told me that, we were at the bottom of the list, and he didn't know.
I don't know how they figure it out. But
Well,
I know Gabe, I talked to Gabe, he said it was coming up soon, so.
again, he said that doesn't make any sense, we usually do two, and a lot of the townships apparently just do one.
There's some corners that are terrible.
And that's what I told him,
Yeah.
we got so much rain, it just
Mhm.
grows like wild.
We didn't get first cutting of hay yet, cause the ground's not warm
Yep.
enough and
Yep,
growing crazy. What's that?
Yep.
Paying the bills?
I'll make a motion to pay bills as presented.
a second.
In favor, say aye. That motion passed.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
It's about the one.
I was good too, but I thought,
Represent